Hey, welcome to Things I Learned Last Night. This is a podcast where we joke around and laugh a lot, but we also learn useless information that you'll probably never use in your real life ever again. This week's topic is Ed Thorp, the person and mathematician behind the counting card strategy of blackjack, and then also basically invented hedge funds and figured out a thing for calculating how to win roulette, and just used math, and actually wasn't like a sleazy guy trying to weasel his way through, just liked math. So if that's what you're into, it's going to be a great episode. So thanks for checking out the show. Hey, man. You ever heard of Dr. Ike Hirschkopf?
No, you don't get to do this.
Okay.
Hey, man, have you ever heard of Ed Thorp?
Ed Thorp?
Ed Thorp. Who's Ike Hirschkopf?
No, do it again.
Who is that?
I've told you to do an episode 6 times.
Oh, is that the shrink next door?
Yes.
Jeez, I need to listen to that.
What's my heart rate? Ed Thorp. I have heard of Ed Thorp.
No, hold on. We'll start it over.
Sorry.
Hey, man.
What's up?
Have you ever heard of Ed Thorp?
Ed Thorp?
Ed Thorp, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, when 30 seconds ago.
But I can't.
I can't remember.
I can't remember from where. Ed Thorp. Hold on. Ed Thorp. Okay, who's Ed Thorp?
Ed Thorp. He is, I guess you could call him a mathematician, a scientist, and a nerd. You can call him a nerd.
Okay.
He is famous for a couple things. We'll have to go through these stories sequentially. I think it's more fun if you don't know everything he's famous for before.
Okay.
So let's start with him as a child. He was born.
Okay. And then what's the next story?
And then he had a childhood. His parents had a picnic without him. But when he was a kid, he lived in California, and he had an early aptitude for science.
Okay.
He often tinkered with just like experiments and stuff like that in his backyard and his shed. And he was in the basement for a while, but his mom kicked him out because he blew it up. And then he got relegated to the shed, started working in the shed for a long time. And then he had a bunch of radioactive material in his dad's trunk.
I was almost sitting here being like, do I know Ed Thorp because you've done this? Okay. I know Ed Thorp. Okay, keep going.
He was one of the first, or one of the youngest amateur radio operators in history. At age 12, he built a radio and had his own radio show. I guess.
Sure.
He went on to win some scholarships for being good at chemistry and physics.
Okay.
He had some competitions that he won. He actually met President Truman through one of those competitions. Like, that was the prize. It was like, do good in this contest, meet the president. And he was like, can you give me money instead? And they said,
yeah.
They said, you can meet the president.
I thought about that. Like,
What?
if I get in like some kind of horrible accident or some kind of national tragedy, then I'm in the hospital and the president is like going and visiting the victims in the hospital, you know? I think the last 2 presidents, both of them, I'd be like, can you actually ask if Obama would come see me?
Can you actually bring a different one?
Can I choose which president?
Can you actually, instead of the president,
would
get an
rather-
actor who can portray him?
Bring me dang, it's gonna be a good joke. West Wing. What's the guy?
Oh, yeah.
Bring me Charlie Sheen's
Charlie Sheen's
dad. What's his name?
But they haven't seen West Wing, so they're just like, what do you,
They're like,
why? Bring me the president from season 3 of 24.
I was going to say, what was that guy? Because now he's in those gold commercials. You know what I'm talking about? He sells gold. Yeah. He's like, gold, you know? Or silver. He sells silver.
You either die the president in a TV show, popular TV show, or live long enough to see yourself sell gold.
The grip that 24 had on my mom is...
on everybody.
Doom, doom, doom. And then if someone died and it just ended silently.
Oh, oof. That show. I wonder if it holds up. I'm going to watch it tonight.
I would imagine the first couple seasons do.
Yeah, they ran it a little too long for sure.
Well, it also always goes because it was the time period where we were in Afghanistan.
Yeah, we were at war.
So it's always going to go.
It's going to be a little
for America,
Yeah.
You know what I just finished? I actually remember why I watched half of this season on Showtime when it came out. I just finished Your Honor because now it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
And at the end of the first season, I was like, oh, wait, this was absolutely made as a one season limited series.
Oh, and then they just stretched it?
Now they've got 3 seasons. But it was the way that season 1 ends. It's like, oh, that's the story. That's it. It's done.
Interesting.
So now I'm curious how season 2 happens.
Interesting. So do you think it just was successful enough that
I Googled it. It absolutely was.
Yeah. And they were like, we need to juice this.
Yep. So now I'm a little concerned about season 2. But I'll watch anything with Bryan Cranston.
Yeah. That's...
So anyway,
very interesting.
We've got our pop culture references out of the way. We've got our America, making fun of America bros out of the way. This is normal for our show.
Yeah.
Now we can go to the topic.
So
Ed Thorpedo.
You don't know how accurate that is. Because here's the deal. I'm going to show you a picture of Ed today. Okay. This is Ed today. How old do you think he is? Just looking at the picture.
Hold on. Do I know Ed Thorp because of...
How old do you think Ed is?
How old do I think he is?
Yeah.
I don't know. 67.
What if I showed you this picture? How old do you think he is? Does this change anything for you?
What I hope this is a Photoshop picture. It looks like his feet are flat.
It does look like his feet are flat, yeah.
Is he 90 something?
He's 89. Well, let me think.
Is he alive?
Yeah, he's still alive. He's still alive. Oh no, he's 91 now.
91.
I saw an interview a couple days ago that was 2 years old. So yeah, he's 91.
I know who Ed Thorp is.
He does for 91, he looks incredible. Like he's 91 look like
in this picture.
And this picture was probably 3 years ago. So he's like late 80s. Yeah,
this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
He looks great.
So when at the time of recording, we're not very far from the presidential debate that you all know happened.
Yeah,
and the age disparity that happens
in
to adults.
Yeah.
Like when we're doing the episode about Press Your Luck, and that guy was 34, and we look like this. But the difference, I mean, like, Biden and Trump are only 3 years apart, but the spray tan and the dyed hair being blonde is stupid, but it's works.
Making a pretty big difference for them.
They look 30 years apart.
Yeah.
But this guy is older than Biden.
Yeah.
And looks, I guess, in his 60s.
Yeah. And he actually, in the interview...
But then there's that freaky pale guy who's trying to live forever. And every time he pops up on my social media feed, he takes a year off my life and he adds it to his, okay?
What's
that guy's name?
Is that who you thought this was?
No.
That guy's name is Brian Johnson.
Brian Johnson,
and
the most
Brian
generic
Johnson,
name, super fake. He looks freaky. Have you seen him?
Hold on, I get a picture.
Have you seen it? He's super pale.
He is terrifying.
He's scary because he doesn't go in the sun because the sun's going to kill him.
The sun's going to kill him, yeah. Well, ironically, this is a picture of him and his son.
Look how freaky they look, dude. Every time this guy appears in my feed, I go, ah.
Yeah. He takes 111 supplements a day. He wears a hat. He wears a hat that shoots laser beams into his head.
He
does blood transfusions from his son.
If you've not know the story, he is taking his son's like what, 19?
Something like that. Yeah.
18, 19?
He's 46.
He's doing a blood transfusion with his kid.
Yeah.
To get 18-year-old, I can't talk about it, but like
he's trying to live to 200.
He's trying to live.
That's what he's doing. Yeah. That's his goal. He wants to make it to 200. And so he's
going to die at 104.
He's going to die at 45.
He's
46. He's going to die at 54. He's going to have a heart attack.
You think so?
I think he's so fixated on this and stressed about this. He's putting too much. He's going to have a stress-induced heart attack.
I don't think he's stressed. He's super rich. I
don't know. You don't behave that way without stress.
Without a mental disorder. I agree. I agree. This is just...
No, Ed Thorp is the opposite of this. He's just very healthy. Like he eats well. He exercises. He was a marathon runner for years. And so like he just takes care of himself. But anyways, So that's why I was like, oh, it's funny you call him Torpedo because he's yoked.
Okay.
That's what I call everyone at my gym. I'm like, what's going on, Torpedo?
If you say that at your gym, that's why you got banned from your last one. Okay, I'm trying to tell you right now. Tim is on his third gym membership. He's banned on 2 gyms. He's having to drive 30 minutes from his house.
It's because I keep getting too confident calling everyone Torpedo.
What's up, Torpedo?
Hey, Torpedo. And they pull me in the office. The gym manager's like, look, bro, you got to stop calling people Torpedo.
Look, bro.
I don't know how many times I got to tell you to stop calling this guy Torpedo. All right?
Bro.
No more torpedoes in the gym.
I just think... I just think you should quit calling people Torpedo. You're like, all right, dude.
Fine. Are you banning me?
They do that
Are you
freaky
banning
thing
me?
with their legs, dude? You see the bodybuilders?
Yeah, I haven't been banned from any of them. I just got told, kindly asked to stop calling him Torpedo, and then I made a scene. I was like, are you banning me? Are you banning me from this?
Hey, can you please stop calling me?
My American right.
Oh, yeah, I'm not allowed to come here anymore? No one has said that.
No, we did
That's
not say that.
word.
We just said...
You're canceling my membership, huh? Oh, you're canceling my membership. That's how you get out of your membership. Because those things are like a contract.
Yeah, they're so
dude.
hard to get out of.
You can't get out of them.
Yeah, I got a membership at Planet Fitness and called so many people Torpedo that they canceled.
Hey, Torpedo. Hey, Torpedo. Hey, Torpedo. What are you doing? All right, I guess we have to cancel this.
I think we're gonna have to kick you out.
That's the only. That's okay. What if we do an internet challenge? We do one of those like we competed to see who could get banned from Planet Fitness first.
We can't put our name on that.
Turns out they do judge you.
Are you judging me? I'm gonna lunk alarm you for telling me I can't Torpedo.
Is there an actual alarm?
Yeah. Have you not heard about that? It's called the lunk alarm.
No.
Have you really not heard about that?
No.
If you do anything that they determine is lunky, then they have an alarm that they will press, the people who work there. And it like has the siren on the wall like that, like
pretty
cartoon
judgy.
siren. It's very judgy. But yeah, if you drop your weights, if you wear cutoff shirts, if you flex in front of a mirror, if you grunt too loud, or like if you do like I
feel bad for the people.
You finish a lift, you go woo, like anything like that, they'll lunk alarm you.
That's why I just pay the extra to have a private gym and a private chef, and because I'm tired of getting lunked.
They do that at CC Pizzas too.
CC's Pizza,
Yeah.
Bro, I wish.
If you lunk alarm at
pounds,
CC's.
I wish someone would have been like, "Hey, this guy's going back for 6." It's called a chunk alarm. There you go. No.
Look at that guy.
We got a fatty over here. You little porker. Dude, I wish they would have cut me off, man. No one cut me off at CC's, and that's why I had to work so hard, man. Golly.
The chunk alarm.
and then I got banned.
Started calling everybody at CC's Torpedo.
Oh, well, that's because I started taking my unwashed hands and just being like, that's mine.
That's mine. I'm claiming it. Wow. All right. So Ed Thorp.
You're not a true fat person unless you have stood over the shoulder of a Pizza Hut employee as they put the fresh pizza on the bar because you're like, I was waiting for that one. That's a fat person.
Honestly, I've done that.
Just go sit down. You know?
I feel like that's a 90s experience. Like if you
That's
were in the
true.
90s, like
Golly,
you've waited
no one
in front of that
Pizza the Hut back
in front of that lettuce. They just had all the
Now-
lettuce wrapping the bar for some reason.
so bad.
You couldn't eat that lettuce. That wasn't the lettuce you eat.
It was
I mean,
just
you
there to
could
be
eat
like,
it.
it's healthy.
They're like, look at it. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, Ed Thorp. So he gets all these scholarships. He goes to UC Berkeley, gets a degree in science or something, and then he goes to UCLA and gets a master's in physics. Gets a PhD in mathematics from UCLA there as well.
Sure.
He goes on to work at MIT, is a professor at MIT, and he does math stuff.
does maths.
He learns
1 times 1 is 2.
He learns about the Kelly criterion, which is a paper written by a guy with the last name Kelly.
Okay.
John Larry Kelly Jr. And so
sounds like a minor league player.
It actually really does. And welcome, John Larry Kelly Jr.
I'm glad you're not an announcer. My wife, we went to a Springfield Cardinals game.
Yeah.
And she didn't know that they choose their walkout music.
Oh, really?
So every time that a Hispanic player would get called up, and it would go,
oh no,
she was like, this is so racist that they're playing this music,
and you're just like,
and I was like, is it?
Is it?
Yeah,
they chose.
And then like the whitest guy on the team goes up to "Little Bit of Chicken Fried, Don't Be on Friday Night," right? And she's like, who's choosing these songs? And I was like, literally, they are.
Is that a real song or is that an Applebee's commercial song?
I think unfortunately.
Is that a real song? I genuinely thought that was an Applebee's.
And what sucks for Applebee's is that you only know that song because of that one day on the news. Do you remember this? Where it was early in the Israel-Gaza conflict stuff, and they're like showing footage of
ad.
and like this is the ongoing situation. It's like showing bombs going off, and then it just goes, and a little bit of chicken fried. Terrible product placement.
Yeah, terrible. But I did go to Applebee's that day.
Yeah.
So
I got there and I was like, can you actually turn the TV to the news? I was watching the conflict.
I was trying to watch what's going on.
In the early days of this show, we did like affiliate ads where we were like, hey, sign up for Grammarly and use code TILLN and we got like 15 cents. And now we just do Patreon. It's a much better way. It's better for us as creators. It's better for you as listeners. And it's a much more fun way for us to interact. We do monthly hangouts like on Zoom. We just hang out and play games online and get to know each other. It's a really fun time. So, but still use our code TILLN at Grammarly.com because I think it's still active. It is still active. Might get like a couple cents from that. Yeah. But join us on Patreon because we're having a great time.
Yeah. If you don't, we're going to have to start doing mobile game ads.
Here's a power move. This is what I've done before. Go to Olive Garden. Yeah. All right, sit at the bar because they got TVs over there and they've got sports games on. Yeah. But just say, can you switch that to the Game Show Network and then watch Family Feud and loudly cheer for Fast Minute? In an Olive Garden.
Interesting. Olive Garden has TVs
at the bar.
Oh, at the bar.
Yeah.
Interesting. I guess I've never sat by the bar. I do remember that time you and I went to Olive Garden and there was the tornado and the waitress came and she was like, depending on how this goes, we might move you to the freezer.
Yeah, she came and told us their storm protocol.
She's like, we're prepping for this. We don't want you to panic. The sirens were going on outside.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like it was like an active tornado warning. And she's like, we're keeping an eye on it. She came
up and she goes, a little bit of chicken fried. Sirens in the background. Terrible timing.
Terrible timing. So the Kelly criterion was this paper that he read. It was written in 1956. He read this paper, and the paper was like a formula for strategizing odds. And so basically it was depending on a situation throughout the course of a lot of times when you look at say you're picking the winner of a game, sometimes people would look at that and at face value they say it's a 50-50 chance of whoever's going to win.
Sure.
What the Kelly criterion did is it scored both options. It gave you a way to score both of them based on not intangibles, but tangible things that gave the other group an edge.
Okay.
And so if you were betting on the Super Bowl, for example,
right,
there's a lot of things that might give one of those teams an edge over the other team. And then it helps you kind of rank what the better bet is and what the probability is of that outcome being a win. So he read that and he said, interesting. I wonder what I could apply this to. And so, and so he spent some time looking at that.
Has this guy correctly guessed like every election in the past?
No.
Okay.
No. And so he's looking at that and he's kind of doing some research. His university recently got an IBM 704, which, have you seen these?
Are you going to show an image, or are you just going to?
Well, I asked.
Have you seen these?
I said, "Have you seen these?" And
these implies there's something to behold.
Well,
have you seen these?
I don't know. Show me.
Yeah.
No. Here's the thing. I said, "Have you seen these?" To the IBM 704. I was curious if you have seen an IBM 704. And if you said no, I was going to go get an image and show it to you. I'm assuming by your answer, you haven't seen the IBM 704.
I assumed you already had one pulled up.
So I'll show you a picture. Here is the IBM 704.
I knew he was going to do something dumb. This is the worst.
Here's the IBM 704.
Like one of the big ones.
Yeah, it's a computer that fills an entire room. It looks like a cubicle if the cubicle was a robot.
Yeah.
And if the cubicle was 10 cubicles.
And the mouse is just an underpaid woman.
Yeah, that's the time. So these computers, very low processing power.
Right.
But
it's insane that our phones are better than that.
Isn't that wild? And so his university just got an IBM 704. And so he's like, I'm going to play with that and use this Kelly criterion to figure out what things you can use the Kelly criterion for.
Okay.
And he discovers, hey, here's a good one. Blackjack. A lot of people gamble. And he said, I wonder if there was a way for us to predict at a certain point in the game what the odds were to help you decide whether you should fold or hold. And so
Tim doesn't play blackjack. You could tell because he went, whether you should
stay or hit. That's the word.
No.
Stay or hit.
It's bonk or honk.
I go to Vegas. I get to the table. He deals me one.
Honk. And the dealer goes,
He was like, what did you just say to me?
all right. Honk.
Honk. Couple rounds, then I just go bonk. So I have no idea what you're trying to say.
Go.
Bonk. But with body language, I think he'd figure it out, and I think he would just bonk.
That's what I'm saying.
And I would believe after a night of blackjack, bonking and honking, a night of bonking and honking at a blackjack table, I'd believe that's what you do.
Honk. Ridiculous.
So he puts together a mathematical model, feeds it into the
I don't play
IBM.
blackjack either.
He feeds it into the IBM 704, waits for it to spit out all the numbers.
I feel like the last couple episodes we've joked about gambling, and it does sound like, but when I joke about, like, I go, I don't do that. It sounds like I have a problem.
Like you have a gambling problem?
I don't.
He does.
I've been banned from 4 casinos because I kept calling all the dealers torpedo.
Here's the thing. He doesn't have a gambling problem, but I'll tell you what, he knows when to honk. That's going in the intro.
Jesus wants your honk.
What was the context of that?
I don't know.
Do you remember?
No. So
he puts it in the computer.
I hate that you are a necklace person, because that's a different chain than you were wearing yesterday.
Here's the deal. I can explain. Let me explain. My wife got me a set.
So Ed Thorp has a giant computer that he starts playing with, right? And he's like, man, I bet we could figure out when to hit in blackjack.
So for our anniversary, my wife got me this set.
A set?
Yeah, she got me a set of 3.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. I have in the past been like, could I do it? Does it work? Could I pull it off?
No.
And I've always been curious. And she got me a set of 3. And she's like, honestly, this is a gamble. This is what she said. She said, this is a gamble, but I figured I'd give it a shot, see what you think. And so I try it out. She likes it. I think I like it. And
They
so
should be tighter.
I'm doing it like this.
Where does a choker?
Like
no,
this?
tighter.
Like this.
Tighter.
Like this.
There you go.
Like this.
Yeah.
And honestly, I think I like it. Comment down below if you like the necklace look. If you like this look, comment below and say I like it. If you don't like
him going, just so we're clear of why I don't like it, it's him going.
It's a chain. The word's chain. It's not a necklace. It's a chain because that's masculine.
That's why I don't like it. You understand? I feel like you get what I'm getting at. I feel like I feel like we're on the same wavelength right now.
So he puts the numbers in the robot, and it gives him a bunch of numbers back. He spends some time interpreting them, and he basically writes this paper, takes it to his board to publish it like as in a scholarly journal, and essentially what it was based on what happens in a game of blackjack, what gets dealt. Here's what you do was the paper. And here's the odds. Here's how the odds work. Because he's like, everybody thinks that in blackjack, the dealer has the edge. The odds are in the dealer's favor. But what he discovered was there are certain hands where you have the odds are in your favor. And they're not greatly, 51, 52% in your favor, but they are in your favor. And so those are the situations where you bet. And if you do that, then you win.
Okay.
So he makes this paper. The board sees it, and the paper was like big bold letters on the front. It was like how to be really good at blackjack, and and they were like, let's change the name. And so they changed it to like it was like a statistical model for understanding betting, and and so they made it like sound smart. I shouldn't say smart. They made it sound like it wasn't like a gambler's guide.
Right.
They made it sound, they branded it as in like an actual academic thing. And that was what it was for him. He wasn't trying to be like, I'm going to go get rich at the casino. This was genuinely a like.
Could we figure this out?
Yeah.
What are the odds?
This is a fun math
figure
problem.
out how to, sure.
Yeah. So he writes this paper. Before the paper even comes out, someone in the press gets word to it and writes an article. This is late 50s, early 60s. They write an article and people lose their minds. They were like, I need to know that guy. I need to read this paper. I need to find this. And this is an academic paper. It's going to an academic journal. This is not for public consumption.
Right.
This is for nerds. But the public.
Little losers.
The public, like.
This is for little geeks and nerds.
The public finds out about this.
This is for non-chain wearers.
This is for a guy, and when you see that guy, you say that guy does not bonk. So
this is for bonkers only.
So a bunch of people subscribe to this journal,
so
they can get his article. They read the article, and everyone's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm so excited about this!" And essentially, what he does is based on what happens throughout the game, you're able to assign numbers to the scenario. You're like, we're in scenario 1, 3, 6, and based on those scenarios, you do a little bit of math, and then that tells you what to do.
Okay.
Right? So you add up those numbers, and that tells you whether the odds are in your favor and the dealer's favor, and you decide whether you're going to hit or stay or whatever.
Sure.
And he puts this out, and a guy by the name of Manny Kimmel reads it. Have you heard this name before?
Yeah, it's Jimmy's dad.
Ironically, I tried to get a picture of Manny Kimmel for us to see.
So you just pulled up a picture of Jimmy Kimmel? Is that what you're about to do?
That's not
couldn't find a picture of Manny Kimmel, but I have this one.
But if you search Manny Kimmel, the results are literally exclusively Jimmy Kimmel photos.
And his sidekick guy?
I don't know what his sidekick's guy's name is. And then Manny Pacquiao. They're like, oh, you're looking for a guy named Manny or a guy named Jimmy Kimmel? we got one of these. And so this is...
You're my sidekick.
Okay.
Just to get at him a little bit. Did you hear it? He went, okay.
All right. Well, Manny...
You can tell when he doesn't like jokes. You can tell when he doesn't like jokes. He's not a good gambler. All right, because he got this tell. He's doing, what are you doing with your mouth right now? What was that? But he just tries to push through to the content. That's when you can tell he really hates what's going on.
Okay. So Manny is an interesting person. Manny was a businessman in Jersey. Him and a couple friends.
A businessman or like a businessman?
Yeah.
Okay. No, that was a genuine question.
Manny Kimmel and his friend Sigmund Dornbush.
Okay.
And Abner Zwillman. They owned a company called Kinney Parking Company, and they owned dozens of parking lots around Jersey.
Yeah.
And
I bet they did. I bet they owned all the parking lots in Jersey. Okay? Because it's just a bunch of empty spots. And that's we get paid when people park there.
Yeah.
That's how we make our money.
Yeah. They were an interesting company. They did that for a few years. In 1962, they merged with their friend Edward Rosenthal's company, which added 2 additional companies that he owned, which was Riverside Memorial Chapel, funeral home, and then City Service Cleaning Contractors.
Just
a maid
3 very easily manipulated books.
Yeah.
I'm just,
In 1965, they decided to merge with Terminal Maintenance Corp, which was a corporate cleaning company.
Okay.
But that did not pass through for unknown reasons. It failed. And then they did merge in 1966 with National Cleaning Contractors, which is another cleaning company. This was what happened next is very strange. They then purchased a company called National Periodic Publications,
Okay.
Which is strange. And then finally, they rebranded into Warner Bros.
Wait. Warner Bros. Is owned by...
Yeah. They were a parking company.
The Bob?
They were a parking company, and then the parking company bought a publisher that was publishing DC Comics. And then they were like, what if we were Warner Brothers? And
They became Warner Brothers?
they literally became Warner Brothers.
Okay.
So that's Manny. Obviously, we figured out pretty early in this story, Manny had some ties. Manny reads this article and Manny says, I think I could use this. Calls up Ed and he's like, hey, Ed, this is Manny Kimmel. You know me? And Ed's like, no. And he's like, you know me. And
Sure.
he's like, I read your little paper thing. And he's like, I think you got some interesting ideas. I'd love to meet you. And he says, okay, when are you available?
Where is Ed? Ed Thorp's out here in California? No, out here. Where am I? He's in California?
No, he lives in Jersey.
Oh, okay.
He lives in Jersey. Warner Bros. Ends up in California, but it was, I guess, started in Jersey. I don't know. Maybe they did start.
I missed part of I thought he was at Berkeley.
No, yeah. Okay, so Ed was educated at Berkeley. Now he's in Boston. He's working at MIT.
He's at MIT. That's already okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And so Manny reads this, and Manny's like, "I'd love to meet you."
Sure.
And he's like, "Okay." He's like, "Let's schedule a meeting." He's like, "What are you doing in 2 hours?" And
What year is this, by the way?
this is like the 60s,
Okay.
early 60s. And he's like, I think maybe I could do something. He's like,
When the mob calls you, and they go, "What are you doing tonight?" And you go, "I think you know what I'm doing tonight."
he's like, I'm getting on a plane. I'll see you soon. So he flies up to Boston, meets up with Ed, and asks him all about his theory.
Alleged mob. Sorry.
Yeah,
I don't want to ruin my shot with any Warner Brothers productions.
So he meets up with them. They have dinner. He asks him a lot of questions.
WB, Will Bonk. All right. And when they do it, it's like bonk, like they're gonna kill you. That's what the mob does.
Yeah, that's what people don't understand is Warner
I
Brothers
told my
still
mom
owns
story
all
on
those funeral homes.
It's because I've told it like 6 times.
So
So I was Uber driving.
Manny,
Yeah.
Manny was like a competition gambler. Like he was like in the
he's like-
industry.
yeah,
And he was known in the gambling industry.
Which all of the casinos are also owned by.
The Bob.
Yes. Not all of them.
Most of them. In this era?
Yes.
In this
that
era?
area,
Yes.
too.
Yeah, in that area, in this era, 100%.
Yeah.
And so he shows up and he's like, tell me what you're thinking. And he's like, well, I'm thinking this is everything I wrote in the paper. And so they kind of go over it. He asks him a lot of questions and he's like, gets a read on him, and he's like, Ed, I like you. And he's like, I'd love to test this theory. He said, what do you say? We fly out to Reno, and we give it a good college try and see how it works in the real world.
Was Reno like the spot then?
Yeah. So Vegas was just starting to form in this era, but Reno was the original like gambling hub in Vegas. And so he's like, we can go hit Reno, give it a shot, see how it goes. And he's like, how much do you think you need for this to like statistically work out? Like, because he's like, it's probability. So you're going to lose some. And he's like, but you're going to, at the end, if you do enough, you're going to come out on top. He's like, how much do you think you need to come out on top? And he's like,
100,000.
Probably 10 grand. This is the early 60s. So it's not like, and so he's like, all right, you want to do it? And he's like, yeah. He's like, okay. He's like, we need to train though. He's like, you
we need to train.
He's like, you do not look the part. And so they set up a plan where 2 times a week, Manny flies out to Boston, brings his wife, a few of his friends, and they set up a blackjack table in his basement. And
in Ed Thorp's basement?
In Ed Thorp's basement. And Ed was going to play blackjack. Manny was going to be the dealer. And meanwhile, Manny's wife was going to lean over him smoking cigarettes and just blowing smoke in his face. And his friends were just going to get blackout drunk and like be annoying and distracting and make all this noise. And they turned on the record player and made it really loud to try to simulate the distractions he was going to have around him and see if he can do this math with all this distraction happening around him. And Manny was playing hardball as a dealer and like trying to do the things that dealers are going to do to catch him and stop him from whatever they're doing. Because at this time, there are literal mobsters walking around the casino to see if you're doing something sketchy, and then they break your legs if they think you are. Yeah. It's not if you are, if they think you are. Right. They break your legs.
Right.
And then they throw you out in the street. So he's like, we got to make sure you're not going to get your legs broken. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you like it, there is some great news for you. We have a mailing list. In that mailing list, we give updates on past episodes. So things in the news, things that happen for episodes. We've got over 200 episodes we've done. And every week, things are changing. New updates are coming out. And we're keeping you up to date on what's happening in the happenings of TILLN Topics. So if you want to keep learning stuff, even beyond the content of the episodes, that's a great place to do it. Also, we give updates on things that's happening in the TILLN verse. I like that. I've never said TILLN verse before, but I'm sticking with it. If you want to know what's happening in the TILLN verse, that's the best place to do it. You can go to TILLN.com. There's a link in the description, or you can text TILLN to 66866. There's a lot of ways to sign up for the mailing list to make sure you keep up to date with everything that we've talked about and everything that's going on in the TILLN verse. But anyways, now back to this episode. So they do this for months. They're training in the basement. His eyes are bloodshot from all the smoke getting blown into them. And so they go, after this training, they go to Reno, land in Reno, go to a casino. They start doing it, and pretty quickly, the casino starts to get wind as to what's going on. They're like, this guy's winning too much. And so they get kicked out, and they go to the next casino over, and same thing happens. They get kicked out. They go to the next casino over, kicked out. They end up going across to Lake Tahoe to hit a couple casinos there. And so they don't have as fruitful of a night as they expected because they keep getting caught and kicked out because they realize something's going on. But they did end the night 11 grand in the positive. And this is in the 60s. So
wow, so they doubled their money.
Yeah, they doubled their money. And in today's money, let's see, let me just do real quick.
Yeah, it'd be like 48,000.
Think so? Mm-hmm. They came out $112,000 on top in today's cash.
Close.
So very good. And so they were like, this is cool. And Manny was like, we're going to keep doing this a whole lot.
And Ed was like, do I get to keep any of this money? And Manny's like, it's for a different time. I'll give you a couple dollars.
So news quickly spreads about this. And Thorp becomes like a celebrity in blackjack and in casinos. And so pretty quickly, he kind of gets out of it because Manny realizes that they know he's that guy and he's not getting let into these casinos anymore. But he has a system. So allegedly, Manny then has a network of people that he teaches this to. and they go and do this in casinos for a few years.
Okay.
Before casinos catch wind to what they're doing.
Sure.
And then they ban it. This is counting cards. This is where counting cards came from.
Right.
And they started doing things because
what's the movie about this?
Counting cards.
Is it called Counting Cards?
I don't know what the movie's called, but I know what you're talking about. I don't remember what the movie is called.
What is it called? I feel like it was like a 2011 movie.
Yeah, I know. 21.
21.
Frick, we suck.
I liked that movie because it had Channing Tatum and Jonah Hill, and they were
cops.
That's a good movie.
What casinos started doing after this is they started mixing decks together. And so the reason why counting cards worked is because you knew what cards were in the deck. And so you knew that once the cards started getting used,
you knew that
the odds were changing.
Right.
And so you were able to then count what was left and then see where your odds were. Now they mix decks together and there's an indiscriminate number of cards of each value in there.
3.
Yeah. And so it's nearly impossible now. So that went really well. And what happened next is a little questionable. I think the story is that Ed was like, that was cool. He writes a book. The book
right.
is super popular. People are like, I'm going to get rich off this. And so it sells like crazy. He actually does really well for himself off of that. And then he starts, I don't know if he says, I need a sequel, I need a follow-up, or if he just has like the curiosity of like, what else does this work for?
Yeah.
So he looks across the casino and says, what
Horse
can
betting.
I figure out? Yeah, what's your guess? I'm curious what you would think. After Blackjack, I was able to figure out the probability of Blackjack. What's the next logical thing where you're like...
Roulette.
Roulette? Really?
Yeah.
Why would you think roulette?
Because it's odds?
That just seems so random.
Why?
Because it's like you're just throwing a ball and it's bouncing around.
Not really, though.
I hate you. You're right. But it's so frustrating that you're right. Do you know this story?
I don't know this story, but I know casinos because
I don't have a problem.
I'm just joking. I know. I would guess because it's an odds game. Like slot machines are obviously rigged.
Yes.
Right? It's one of those things where it's like
Yes.
I can't outsmart this machine. And then horse betting is horse betting. It's like you're just throwing darts at the wall.
Yes.
Like Einstein. And but roulette, you can actually there's multiple different strategies.
But you're just kind of playing gravity.
You're not though.
Interesting. I haven't played roulette enough, I guess. I would have assumed like another card game. I would have assumed another card game.
Sure, but I'm pretty sure the roulette tables are weighted. And there's
that's interesting.
Yeah, because the casino's not going to give you a true 50-50.
Yeah. Well, he looked at roulette and he said, I bet if I can see when you drop that ball where it hits first,
right,
I can predict where it's going to land. And so he starts doing the math. Same thing, gets the IBM out and has it start doing the calculations. They then built a device to go in their shoe that they could tap a number tap on that device, and the device would tap back a response to tell them where it's going to end up. And so he could toss it.
So let's say it's 30, right?
It's like, man, that guy's nervous.
And you're just doing this hoping that it doesn't. One, two. It's 2.
Yeah, it's 2. So long story short, this one doesn't have the mob ties. I don't know. But long story short, him and another MIT professor figure this out. They build this device and it works. And they write another paper, another book on it. And then everyone's like, how do I buy that device? And he's like, we're not selling it. And they're like, no, how do I buy that device? But they did develop the first piece of wearable technology. Like this is the very first Apple Watch, essentially.
This is the first piece of wearable technology is how to beat a roulette machine.
Yeah. And it's like a weird shoe, essentially.
What did it look like?
I don't know if we have pictures of it. This is an interesting part of the story because to me...
Oh, yeah, these are my Nike roulettes.
It's an interesting part of the story because to me, this is more impressive than gaming blackjack, in my opinion.
Sure.
I feel like that's harder to game roulette. But there's not a lot covering this story. So I don't know. I don't know what the shoes look like. Anyways, his casino career, really fruitful. But since that ended, in the late 60s, as 69, he started saying, what else can I figure out with some numbers? So he looks at everything that has numbers. There's a lot of stuff have numbers in them. And he says, I bet I could figure out the stock market. And so he goes to the stock market and he's just applies the same kind of mathematical principles, plugs them into his IBM computer to do some advanced calculations for him. And he, long story short, puts together this theory where he says, why aren't we investing in all the stocks and then hedging our bets with the opposite end of them? And so essentially builds himself the first hedge fund.
Yes.
And puts together this portfolio, writes a paper about it. And again, this guy's not out here trying to get rich doing any of this. He just loves the numbers and loves figuring out if it's possible. And so he writes this paper, puts together this little hedge fund. Nobody is like following it. And then all of a sudden this guy hears about it and is like, hey, I want you to meet a friend of mine.
We know where it goes.
And so it's a guy this guy started a parking company.
WB?
Huh? Oh, yeah, WWB? WWBA. It's Warren Buffett.
WB.
Yeah, Warner Brothers. Warren Buffett. So Warren Buffett at the time, this was before Warren Buffett was Warren Buffett.
Right.
He was just getting into...
He was Warren Buffet back then. That's what they called me at CC's.
Warren Buffett was this was pre Berkshire Hathaway, Warren Buffett.
Right.
And so Warren Buffett was like doing investment management for some people, but it had kind of fallen apart.
Right.
And so this is really interesting. When this fell apart, they bought Berkshire Hathaway, which was a textile company, and he was going to rebuild from there. And he told his entire team, he said, look, you can take Berkshire Hathaway for a share in Berkshire Hathaway for $12 a share, or you can just take the money that's left over and you can walk at this point. And so all of the investors and stuff that he had been working with had that choice. Most of them walked because it fell apart. It wasn't working.
Right.
But some of them held. Those who held, this is insane. $12 a share. Berkshire Hathaway today is worth $609,000 per share. If they would have 12 to 609, and many of them had hundreds of shares they were walking in. That is just so absurdly insane. Anyways, so Warren Buffett is in this in-between phase. And one of those investors heard about this and was like, I want you to meet my friend Warren Buffett. And so he orchestrates this meeting between Ed and Warren, and they meet. And basically, this was him being like, I want you to vet this guy for me. Warren meets him, vets him, and is like, this guy knows his stuff. Yeah. Like, you should talk to him. And Warren and Ed didn't become like friends. They didn't have like a long-term relationship after this. They were like colleagues almost, like they did interact, but they weren't like tight after this. But there's a lot of what we see Berkshire Hathaway going on to doing that does seem to relate to a lot of what Ed's theories were. Okay. And so it does seem like he might have learned from him in this meeting. But anyways, that investor basically got the green light from Warren Buffett to work with Ed. And so he went to Ed and was like, I'm leaving Warren Buffett and I've got a lot of money.
Own thing called BlackRock.
He's like, I've got a lot of money. He's like, would you manage it for me? And he's like, well, I'm just kind of a nerd. I don't know if you want me.
I'm just a lowly nerd. Who, me?
And so he's like, this isn't really something I do. Like, I'm just a researcher. And so basically this guy kind of talks him into it. And he then from the early 70s and through the 2000s, he becomes a like portfolio manager by default. Like he kind of fell backwards into this.
Okay. Yes.
And through those 28 years that he did it for 28 years, his investments had an annual average rate of return at 20% return every year.
Holy cow.
So just crushing the markets.
Right.
And really the first person to come up with a hedge fund. That was pretty much his idea. And so
which fund did he work for?
I don't know if it was like a big name fund. Edward Thorp and Associates.
Oh, okay.
So it's just him, based in Newport Beach, California. So
I'm gonna go find him.
and then he retired and then got super into fitness and then has lived for like an extra 40 years on top of that. So this guy
Just being fit.
just being so fit. I mean, look at that body. It's the weird guy again.
I know it is. I'm aware of what you're doing.
Here he is. Here he is when he's young playing blackjack. I don't know if you can tell by the way he's holding this. He doesn't know what he's doing. But yeah, so Ed Thorp invented counting cards, invented wearable technology, invented hedge funds, invented being old and looking good.
He's just a numbers guy.
He's just an impressive dude.
That's wild.
Yeah, and none of it was like a get rich quick scheme. Most of it he didn't want to make money off of. He just was curious if the numbers worked, and they did. And the first couple things could have got his legs broken if they went the wrong way. The last thing also could have got his legs broken if it went the wrong way, but he ended up becoming very wealthy because of the investment management fund.
Gosh.
So
Wild.
it just goes to show, if you learn numbers...
Sorry, I didn't realize I was supposed to do the back half of that sentence. If you learn numbers,
you're gonna bonk.
all right. Well, fiddle that off then. Hey, thanks for watching that episode. Speaking of casinos, we have an episode that I really enjoyed called The Harvey Casino Bombing. It's a heist. Some guys put what they claimed was a bomb inside the casino, and then there was like a multi-day standoff kind of stuff with the police trying to figure out what to do about it. It's a really great episode. It's very funny. You'll learn a lot about that topic. And right now, next week's episodes, we put episodes out on Tuesday. We've given you this one. Hello. Next Tuesday's episode is out right now for our Patreon supporters. If you can't wait a week and you want to watch it right now, join us on Patreon. You also get to join our Discord and hang out with us. We have monthly meetups, and you get birthday videos. All kinds of perks will come with that. Other than that, we'll see you next week on Things I Learned Last Night. Things I learned last night.